Good afternoon, YouTube. It's me all the way George Page, aka D. I'm not. I'm just. It's just George here. All the way George Page. I'm not gonna be the emperor of anything. I hadn't done these in a while because I don't try to do them too often. But when I do one, I feel like I need to do it for somebody, especially a man like this who had done so much for our community. I mean, he's a great man. He's a legend. I just heard and I just saw that Richard Roundtree has passed. If you know Richard Roundtree, you will know him best as Shaft, one of the baddest motherfuckers around. I'm gonna say that white word, motherfuckers. I'll put the those fries around later, but fuck it. But it's just sad news. I mean, unbelievably, he was just truly too black and too strong, especially coming up a good part of, a little bit a few years after the passing of great people like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, and also still at the end of the equal rights movement. For black people, but he really truthfully was a person that inspired people. As you know, he was born originally Richard Arnold Roundtree in 1942 in New York. And, his early life, he was a actor. He also was a model. But he also had a very athletic background, but because of injuries, he had to give up that, and he dropped out of college. But then, as his actor was getting up, they created a character called Shaft. John Shaft was a private detective, who lived in Harlem. He was just really badass. The first movie was Shaft. Then the next movie was Shaft-based score. And everybody remembers I think it's a classic. I've seen this movie, I've seen most of these movies, most of these movies coming up as a kid. Shaft goes to Africa. And, even that, he was still doing some other movies. He worked with people like Richard Roundtree. He worked with Jim Kelly, the late Jim Kelly, the late Jim Brown, and also Fred Williamson. They did a classic movie together. He did quite a few movies in his career. He had a short-lived series in 74 to 73, 73 to 74. I was born in 74, so the series was over by time. It was only 7 episodes. It's called Shaft. It was kind of a big letdown. It was on CBS network. It just kind of watered down his character, extremely watered it down. And, after that, he kept on living his life, modeled. He was married before. He had a couple of kids with his first wife, then moved on. He married some other women, and then he had some more children after that. And then in the 90s, he was still active. He was a good part of the 80s, 90s. He was starring TV shows like MacGyver. He was on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and some other TV shows. Also did some other movies, like it was a Killer Cop movie I remember years ago he did. And he was still active, even around about the late 90s, 2000s. He started with Shaft in the Steel movie. You remember Steel? Yeah, I like Shaft, but that was a big disappointment. Yeah, as a comic fan, he did the movie wrong. And around about the early 2000s, he reprised his role. I mean, he was kind of reprised his role playing the character John Shaft, who is the uncle of Samuel Jackson's version of Shaft in the 2000s. And then around about 2018, 2017, he came back again, playing this time the father. He's playing the father, John Shaft, to Samuel Jackson, and also the grandfather to Jesse Usher. But, one thing people don't know about Mr. Roundtree, he kept acting. He's had several roles in movies and TV shows over his career. I mean, he still was in there. But also one thing people didn't know, he is one of few men who ever had this. He had breast cancer around 93, and he had to get a double mastectomy. And that's tough. I mean, especially for a man. I mean, he had, if you ever seen him, like, even, around about doing some roles with his shirt off, he has a bad scar because, and it's different for men we get breast cancer. I mean, we're not losing anything. We just have a scar. But the fact is, he was very, very sensitive about that. But he really, was active for cancer, especially cancer victims. He leaves behind 5 children. 2 of his oldest children from his first marriage, and then his last 3 children from his last marriage. His death was from, even though he fought breast cancer, it was pancreatic cancer that took him out. And, it's just, he beat one cancer, but to lose to another. And I know some people who have gotten the pancreatic cancer. That one is, Alex Trebek passed away from it. My dear friend, Miss Rhonda Lee Charisma, she had it. I mean, it's tough. But, he was just a great actor, a great man. He was just really, especially for us black people, especially coming around a good part of, like I said, the end of around about the end of the civil rights movements in the early 70s, in the late 60s. He was really someone to look up to. I mean, like I said, I gotta give him respect. He back in '72, he won a Golden Globe for up and coming actor, and he deserved it. Even though his career didn't really do much after the Shaft movies, he still was active, still performing, still doing what he wanted to do because he loved being an actor and performing for the people in the crowd. But this is a great man. My heart goes out to his children, his grandchildren, the rest of his family. This man will always be missed. I mean, I saw that also checking that he had a movie in production. I don't know if it's going to finish the movie just around the time we had a writer's strike and all that stuff always going around. But Mr. Roundtree, you are a great man, and you really inspire a lot of us in my generation and the generation before us. Men like you should not be ever forgotten. So I hope, like I said, my heart's out go to his family. And let's remember the great Mr. Roundtree, a.k.a. John Shaft. Shut your mouth.